Ever since I was a kid with my plastic WWE spinner belt with the strap-on jorts telling everyone, you can't see me, I've been obsessed with pro wrestling, the drama, the grandeur, the storyline, the larger-than-life personality. It's so captivating to me. If you can't tell by my username, I am still that obsessed with pro wrestling. After high school, though, I kind of fell off pro wrestling, but I still kept up with the video games. Every time they'd go on sale, I would usually buy it. Pro wrestling games hit different. Whether you enjoy wrestling or not, we can at least admit the wrestling games are fun. Especially in recent years, because 2K has really started cranking up the heat on the 2K games. So, how did this year's offerings fare up? You're about to find out. So strap on those boots with everybody saying Untitled Elite. Yeah. If you're familiar with the 2K games, then you know there aren't any major changes. It does have distinct gameplay elements that make 2K24 stand out. We got 4 new match types, which is a big improvement from the 1 new match type last year. These 4 new match types are Ambulance Match, Casket Match, Gauntlet Match, and Special Guest Referee Match. That last one being the most interesting one, and it also spawned a bunch of memes. The casket and ambulance matches are interesting. I thought I'd have a lot more fun with these matches though. I feel like whenever 2K adds a new gimmick match, they just throw button mashing at it and call it a day. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin just throwing back beers. When you realize this, the novelty kind of wears off. Like I was Kane and I hit Logan Paul with 3 choke slams in a row. He was stunned and I tried to throw him in the ambulance, but I had to button mash like crazy. I'm not saying it should be really easy, but come on. He should be dead at that point. There is an army of new moves like you would expect from any wrestling game. Among those being super finishers. These function as match-ending finishers signified by the blue lightning on the HUD. Some of these are devastating while others are just kind of weird. I think it is a positive addition. Undertaker would normally end his matches with a Hell's Gate, just like Roman would end his tougher matches with a Superman Punch Spear combo when he's not enlisting the help of Solo Sikoa. But others are just weird, like Undertaker's Leaping Tombstone Piledriver. Okay. I like these for the most part, because finishers like Hell's Gate or the Triple Crossroads, I would normally swap these out shortly after booting up the game for the first time. They were too much of a finale for just a regular finisher in my opinion. There was one last gameplay change though I would love to touch on. That's the hockey fights, or the strike exchange, as most people probably call them. I'm not sure how to trigger them, so you may or may not get footage on this. Shortly after I wrote this script, and actually as I was recording this, 2K added an update to WWE 2K24 that added a button prompt to start these exchanges. Now you just hold the light attack button and it will trigger these. So there you go. Back to past Jason. Essentially, when you throw strikes, you can prompt a back and forth strike exchange where you hold down A or X depending on your controller type until you reach the green bar. The more strikes you get, the more full the bar will get, and also the more strikes you put in, the more prominent the yellow bar will be, which signifies the end of the strike exchange. If you time it just right on the yellow bar, you will reverse their strike and it will end the strike exchange. The loser of the exchange will get stunned. Honestly, I have no complaints on this, but I do wish that you could draw in the strike exchange. I think it would create a really interesting dynamic and create situations that you see in real life pro wrestling all the time, where 2 opponents are knocked down and the ref has to count to 10 or until one or both of the opponents get back on their feet. I've always wanted to see this implemented in a wrestling game, so we were so close, it sucks that we didn't get it. But the hockey fights are a nice addition. They're really akin to the chain wrestling from the SVR games. Last and the most significant change is the stamina. In all, if not most wrestling games, you have stamina. It is used to gate spamming of running and other moves. In recent years, stamina has become really insignificant in wrestling games to the point where I actually even forget it's there. In 2K24 though, it swings the opposite direction. There is no way to avoid the stamina in this game, kind of like The Rock's horrible Versailles shirts. I had it on for a couple hours of gameplay, and I could not take it. I had to turn it off. You're telling me peak Bret Hart can't run the ropes without getting gassed? Who is he? CM Punk? This is because 2K added gas finishers, like when HBK hits his sweet chin music now, he falls on his opponent for the 1-2-3. If you're not playing as HBK though, and you're gassed and hit the finisher, you both will collapse and you can slowly crawl to your opponent and drape your arm over him. I do feel like with the stamina, the cons outweigh the pros in this situation. There are a few other changes to gameplay, like there's new weapons, you can find Slim Jims and microphones under the ring, along with now you can also throw weapons, and RVD can do a special grapple with the chairs. I wish everyone could do that, but whatever. Weird flex. But yeah, that's all of the gameplay changes that are in this game. Everything else in the game is essentially the same. The modes in 2K24 are essentially the same. You got GM mode, Universe mode, My Faction, My Rise, and Showcase mode. I really only tried out Showcase, My Faction, and Universe. I'm sorry, GM mode just puts me to sleep, and My Rise just looks god-awful. I'm going to break this section up into 3 points for 3 different modes. This year's Showcase is quite possibly the most boring option they could have chose for a showcase. It's 40 years of WrestleMania. I honestly think that they did it better in 2K14. I don't think the match selection is very good here. There's a lot of great matches that were omitted from the selection for no apparent reason. Some obviously because the wrestlers aren't with WWE anymore. But why not Cena vs JBL? I know we don't like Hogan, but Hogan vs Rock is the quintessential Mania match. I even thought it was weird that we didn't get Kane vs The Undertaker, especially because we got the casket match. The match selection isn't horrible, and I definitely don't think it should have been a match from every WrestleMania. That would have been too much. The selection was just really inconsistent here. The other part I didn't like was the objectives in the match are very oddly specific, like suplex Bret Hart on the southern corner during the Mercury retrograde while the summer is in solstice on the 7th hour. Obviously, over exaggerating here for funnies, but it was legitimately very frustrating. The weirdest part about the whole package, it was narrated by Corey Graves. I like Corey Graves well enough, but of all people, Corey Graves? I felt like they could have gotten someone better. Like, what if it was narrated by the wrestlers that were actually in those matches? Or why not Michael Cole? Michael Cole has commentated most of these matches, and he could provide a lot of insight into these matches that a lot of people can't. In last year's package, it ended with a battle with Super Cena. It was really fun and engaging, and it went with internet folklore and memes. This year, it ends with a WrestleMania Battle Royal, where you battle to become the champion of WrestleMania with a Battle Royal? That's the worst match type you could pick. It just felt really anticlimactic. It was also really weird because the package ends with a WrestleMania 40 advert, which is crazy for a full price game. It felt like the showcase mode was designed for the casual WWE fan that buys the wrestling games and barely keeps up with WWE, to remind them, hey, don't forget, our big PLE is coming up soon. Don't forget to subscribe. I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way, especially because I have a lot of anticipation for the showcase modes. It's the first thing I play. I just binge it like it's a Netflix series, and it gives me so much nostalgia. So it's very disappointing that this year's just fell flat. I usually spend all of an hour messing with the My Faction mode before I drop it entirely. I hate the My Faction modes and modes that are like it. They're designed to scrape as much money from the player base in the most cowardly and sadistic ways in gaming. Like, I paid 2K $150, and apparently there's more content that they want me to purchase. After popping in the disc, I saw a $25 DLC for a couple skins and some My Faction cards. Are you mad? Who is spending nearly $200 on an annualized pro wrestling game? 2K added a few things that I've been worried about since they added in the My Faction mode. Persona cards. No, not the fantastic JRPG. No, Persona cards is something that gamers have been asking for every year for some god-awful reason. Every year, 2K blesses us with some updated or retro attires for wrestlers that are already in the game. Usually you have to grind or pay up them big bucks like you didn't already pay a good $70 for this game. For a long time, gamers have been begging 2K to give us these cards outside of the My Faction mode, and oh my god, did they ever. Now, I will say, there's not a lot of Persona cards, there's about 5. 2 came with codes, the other 2 came with unlocks, Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. I think the other one was a pre-order bonus. The Cody Rhodes one really worries me. You have to complete a timed objective, complete a tower, and get to a certain rank in ranked matches. See the problem? It's FOMO. What about the people that get this game in 6 months? What about the people that just aren't interested in playing competitive? No doubt 2K is going to offer these as purchases for a premium price. I think it's going to be in the $5 to $10 range. I mean, 2K is the definition of wolf in sheep's skin. They literally added a casino to the NBA games, which launched a whole investigation into microtransactions, but that's neither here nor there. As someone who hates playing with other players, I decided that the palette swap just wasn't worth it. I think though this should worry most players. I am an advocate for if you pay for these cards, you should be able to use them in every mode. But I think the Persona cards have done more damage than good, at least so far. More than before, I'm keeping up with My Faction when I used to never touch it. I'll log the daily bonuses, I'll do all the in-game events, and this has caused me to look at 2K24 as more of a chore than something I really want to play. It's sad, because I legitimately love this game. They haven't changed much about the My Faction mode. You complete daily events to get endless and meaningless rewards, to collect cards, and win matches in the most convoluted way. Think of it as every sports game's live service mode. It does have a pointless faction wars mode. It's like a roguelike where you have random cards and you battle through this tower and make choices on where to go next and what to do. If you get enough points, you can actually unlock these cards to use in My Faction. But I honestly don't think it's worth it because you get these tickets and you get only a finite amount in them. And from my testing, you really only get them from daily rewards, which sucks. I don't know. I hate modes like this. I probably won't be touching it for much longer. Universe mode is the most disappointing game mode out of the whole game, but it's one I spend most of my time in. If you've played Universe mode in 2K23, you kind of know what you're getting into already. From what I can see, there's really nothing new here. Outside of the bug fixes, the managers are still kind of broken. I just don't get it. This mode has so much potential. The Universe mode from the PS3 titles like 13 and 2K14 blow this Universe mode out of the water with hundreds of pre, post, and mid-match random events and rivalry. Like, where's the faction mode? Promos, draft, title vacancy, #1 contender matches, free agency, NXT call-ups, rivalries that work, tournament, Teddy Long coming out of nowhere and telling you that you got a tag team match against The Undertaker. I'm not sure why 2K keeps ignoring this mode when it has so much potential. It looks more and more likely that in the next installment or two, it's gonna get sunsetted, which is kind of sad. Because 90% of my playtime goes to this mode. Going off social media, I'm not alone. If you honestly go to the WWE 2K Reddit, there is hundreds of threads about people's rivalries and how they use it to predict what's going to happen in WWE, to have their dream matches, or just for fun. I had to turn off auto rivalry so I wouldn't get the same 4 matches week in and week out, and it's still a blast. That's how you know you're cooking, when the mode is broken and it's still kind of fun. I just blindly use it to just play endless matches. I had to turn auto rivalries off because I kept getting the same 4 matches every week, and it's still a blast. Also, this has been happening in the last like 2 to 3 WWE games, and they still haven't fixed it. What the fuck's going on? That's how you know you're cooking, though. When the mode is broken and it's still fun. I just use it to blindly play matches, and it's fun for that. I would like to do like storylines and all that stuff, but it's kind of challenging to do that, and you got to do a lot of busy work, and I just don't see why I should do it because it's not that fun or engaging because it doesn't work half the time. I just wish 2K would honestly care more, especially when it comes to modes like this, because there's so much potential to really push these games forward. I would normally have a section for like graphics and or sound design. I feel like this doesn't work in this instance, as 2K strives for more realism. WWE 2K24 really hits the mark on this. It feels like a broadcast of WWE programming, from the spotlights hitting the sweat-stained torsos to the pyro in the entrance. This feels like a real step into next gen. I will say some of the character models still look a little weird, especially in the facial design. I think Rhea Ripley's model is a good example of that. And also, if you have a character creation, sometimes their face will get messed up. I don't know why. The weird 2K faces are also still present in the universe mode cutscenes. I don't know when they're gonna try to improve this, but please next year. A touch that I've noticed that I really love, and I don't see a lot of people talking about, is I noticed in signature moves and in finishers, there will be a sea of camera flashes like you would normally see in the audience for any sport. I love this. I noticed that this was something that was in the SVR games, but I'm really glad that they brought it to the 2K games. I love this slight change. I feel like it brings an energy to the match and it makes it feel like a live event instead of just two codes brawling over my watchful eye. Speaking of brawling, they improve the blood. Kind of. There is more blood this year, which I love. It's a nice touch. But it's not Jon Moxley Fight Forever levels, but it's more than in previous years. It does hit the body parts awkwardly, and I find it doesn't populate the ring as much as I would hope. I'm not sure if it's a bug, but I've noticed in my game exclusively, I only see small droplets on the head and then nothing on the map. And it's so disappointing. I really hope on next year's entry, they really improve on this and they add a lot more blood, especially because in WWE programming, they're using a lot more blood. On that same note, I love how face paint will slowly chip away the longer a match goes on for. It's a nice but simple touch. Too bad Jeff Hardy isn't here for this. But you can notice sweat slowly building on the wrestlers the longer the match goes on for. This is especially noticeable during post-match cutscenes. I love the level of detail on the muscles and the bodies. It's mind-blowing. I honestly don't know how they could improve on this level of detail. They even got John Cena's bald spot looking crazy. Makes me sad every time I see it. All in all, WWE 2K24 is a good wrestling game. It incrementally improves on the 2K formula with small changes and nice to have. The new match types are a nice change, and the hockey fights are a really good touch. It's not a must-have like 22, but it is well worth your time and has a lot of fun packed into it. Though the nearly $100 price tag and $140 for the complete edition doesn't have the WrestleMania pack, but hey, at least we have the pad pack. It is a lot of money on something that is just slightly better. I'm not saying I regret my purchase of it, but I do think it is overpriced for what it is, especially because it has the most bugs with the highest price tag, not to mention wrestlers and arenas are hiding behind a $25 paywall. I guess it really varies on what mode you like to play. I was a little more disappointed because of the neglected universe mode, but the wrestling is still really fun, even with the tedious grind of showcase mode. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you watched a second of it, if you watched 5 minutes, if you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching it. Sorry I look a little crazy. It's allergy season. If you like this, I make short form content over on my TikTok at Untitled Elite. I also talk about wrestling and video games over there, and on my TikTok and Instagram, they all have the same name. It will be linked below. And also, if you like this, don't forget to give me a sub and give me a like. And let me know what you thought about WWE 2K24 down in the comments. And if you want to support me further, I have a music page where I post my lo-fi beats, so I will have that link below as well. If you want to support me, that is completely optional. I'm just lucky to be making these videos and have people watch them. So thank you so much. Hope you have an amazing day, and we'll see you in the next one.